Hey guys, I'm back at the Electric Bicycle Center in Fullerton, hanging out with Sam.
Hey.
And we're looking at the Samson. This is one of the Day 6 super comfortable, really unique electric bikes. And you actually carry, I don't know how much of the line you have, but you got the Cyclone 350 and the Patriot 750 over there. What's the difference between these, Sam?
So you've got, the Samson specifically is made for the heavier rider. You know, there's not a lot of bikes that have a 400-pound weight capacity.
Yeah.
And as you go down the line, you're going to see subtle differences like internally geared hub.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to see thinner tires on the Patriot down here.
This one looks smaller too, but I was told they come in three sizes, three frame sizes.
So all three of these bikes are extra larges.
Oh.
So keeping that in mind, looking at them, you can start to see the differences between them.
Huh.
And you'll notice the Samson definitely has, just everything on the Samson is larger on the distance between the top and the bottom tubes as you're going back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to focus on the Samson. That was the idea here.
Sure.
Time is a little bit limited. I hope to review some of the other models in the future, but the Samson being the big, strong, sturdy one, it's really unique. Like, the first thing I noticed is that this is a mid-step frame, so you can come to it, step right over pretty easily. I've got plenty of room here, plenty of clearance. With a seat like this is custom designed. I was actually speaking with Kelly, he's the founder of this company, and yeah, they custom designed this, so you're not going to see this seat anywhere else. It's got an adjustable backrest. It's got this interesting integrated pack on the back, and
carry your charger.
A pouch. Yeah, the charger's in there right now, along with the kind of a manual. Well, maybe we took the manual out. It's a standard 2-amp charger, so it's like, that's decent. Only weighs 1.5 pounds, and there's still plenty of room back there. You can raise this seat. You can lower it. Extra sturdy down here, and in fact he was telling me they have another option where you can do like 3 struts to really support that seat. I was on the website and I was looking at the different models, studying up. This is $32.99 with the base battery pack. It's like 11.6. We're actually looking at a 14 amp hour battery pack on this one, and then they have a 17 amp hour pack too, so depending on how far you need to go and how big you are and what motor you choose. So this is the 750 version, and that's pretty much as high as you can go legally for a light electric bike in the United States. 750 watts nominal is incredibly powerful, especially with a mid-drive here. Look at that extra long chain. You're able to shift through, in this case, 8 gears. Shimano Acera, so it's not the base. This is kind of like a lower, but good enough level component group. And I noticed that they've got some, trigger shifters up here with a little window, so you can look in. If you're someone who maybe hasn't been biking for a while, perhaps you're a larger person and you were struggling to find a bike that actually fit and felt comfortable. Look at this. How tall are you, Sam?
I'm 6'4".
He's 6'4", and he's actually able to put his foot down while being seated, and you'll notice that the bottom bracket's pushed forward a little bit, so you get this really interesting mix of components, right? There's an adjustable angle stem up here from Necco, 0 to 60 degrees, so you can bring those bars back and you really don't have to lean forward. You'll notice there's not a lot of stress and strain on his back or neck or arms here. It's his whole body weight's back further, versus in the background we have some of these high bikes and stuff, mountain bikes. Your body weight is a lot more forward, aggressive on those, and it can be hard on people. One of the use cases was people with multiple sclerosis who are struggling with maybe balance or leg extension or any number of things. And so I, looking at this, it kind of reminds me of like a motorcycle, like a chopper in some ways.
For me, it's like the closest you can get to a recumbent without being on a recumbent. It's still considered the upright 2-wheel bicycle class.
Yeah.
And the seat, actually, I have a lot of customers walk in the store and they're like, I want that seat on my bike. And this seat, actually, Kelly says it won't fit because of the angle and the way it was designed. So he's actually designing this seat to specifically fit on bicycles.
It's a very custom bike.
Yeah.
And again, those 3 frame sizes. So maybe you're a super big person and you need the XL, but I'm not super big. I'm like 5'9", and I might go for one of these different bikes. And then the internal gearing, one of the benefits of that is being able to shift at standstill, and it keeps it really clean. But you'll notice that there's nuts on that instead of quick release. So the Samson had quick release front and rear. We've got 160 millimeter disc brakes, mechanical. That's okay. Disc brakes stay a little bit cleaner and they give you a little bit more control. These rims were actually designed, they look like standard rim brake style rims. So the disc brake is an upgrade. 26 by 2.1 Maxxis Gypsy tires with silk silkworm puncture protection. They even say e-bike. So, these are rated 35 to 65 PSI, and they're just a little bit bigger. Like we were talking about on the other one, they're narrower. As a heavier rider, you probably want the bigger tires.
And as a heavier rider, I rode this bike actually from here to Huntington Beach and back.
Oh,
and
wow.
that's like a 50-mile ride. So that's a long ride. And, some bikes you're going to get tired after a 50-mile ride. With this bike, you just take your time, and enjoy the wildlife down on the river trail there and take it all in as you're just cruising along.
The other interesting thing about the drive system they chose here, so it uses a cadence sensor. It's 750 watt nominal. That's powerful. Okay, so you've got a lot of torque happening, and as you shift gears, let's say you're climbing, you shift into a lower gear, an easier gear, and you're empowering both your legs and the motor to be more effective and more efficient. So this is what I would consider one of the stronger bikes. It uses a cadence sensor. So if you're someone who, maybe you don't have the power to start on your own, you can first of all go up here and use the throttle. So it does have throttle, which overrides assist. Very nice to have, especially if you're at a stop sign or something and you're kind of loaded up, or again, you have some leg strength or balance issues. I think the throttle's key. And then once you start pedaling, it's just listening for pedal movement. So you really don't have to overexert yourself on this bike.
And mid-drive, a lot of your brands like Bosch or Yamaha or Brose, there is no throttle. And this is one of the few of the mid-drives that does have a throttle.
And that does make this a Class 2 electric bike, but I mean, kind of who cares? And in the city, when you're on streets and roads and stuff, that's not a problem. This is still an electric bicycle. You don't have to have a license or insurance. But I was talking to Kelly. He said they have, there is kind of an override. So if you have private property or you're someone who's using this off-road, you can upgrade it and you go a little bit faster if you want to. Maybe even turn it into like a Class 3 electric bike at that point, up to 28 miles per hour. So this is a little bit more open source. In some ways, this is a very purpose-built e-bike, but in other ways, it's not. So this is kind of like just a kit system here. It's not nearly as integrated and streamlined as like a Bosch over here, but you get the throttle, and you can buy the Day 6 bikes unpowered. So we're over here, we're looking at the Journey and the Dream. See, there's no motor, it's just pedals, and then it's up to you to make that effort and get the bike going. Of course, they weigh a little bit less. I was weighing the Samson right here without the battery pack, and it was about 51 pounds. And the battery weighs like 6 pounds or something. So we're looking at like 56, 57 pounds, which is not bad for how big it is.
As big as this bike is, I was shocked to find out that number was that low.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
And Kelly was giving me feedback about that. I was like, this is longer. So I've got the measurements back at the site. Standover height, length, width, because the bars and everything this is custom. He said that's a custom bar, really high rise. Yep. He said, this adjustable stem is cool. You just loosen it a little bit and then fold it down, and you can take the seat, the back of the seat, like slide it right off. And now the bike's relatively compact. You can put it in the back of your van or something.
On any other bike, these would be considered ape hangers, Court. But on this bike, it actually fits the bill.
It does. It's a really cool concept. And when you were sitting on it earlier, your head was up. You were able to look around.
Yeah, the ergonomics are going to be different, and I think the key word to say when you're looking at this product is it's comfort. Mm-hmm. With the backrest and this massive seat, it's just certain people are going to have issues riding a normal bike with any seat on it. This is a completely different situation. Like again, I'm reverting back to almost like a recumbent style bike.
Yeah, it's neat. And I also want to call out, when we were speaking on the phone, I do my best to study, and in this case it's more like understand, because I haven't really seen a bike like this before. These are larger platform pedals, kind of a BMX style, so they give you more room for your feet. And on their website they have some stories about like, hey, there's this basketball player and he needed a bike, and he could fit on ours, so sure. It's kind of a marketing thing, but it's neat with the bigger guys.
Hey, different people are different sizes, and different bikes fit for different people.
That's absolutely
and
right.
When you're at the extremes, like a freak like myself, and certain sizes you're not going to fit on most other bikes. You have to get an extra large, but in this case, this is the Samson. I mean, what a perfect name for the bike.
Yeah.
Big, strong bike that'll carry a big guy or a big gal.
It's awesome. Yeah, this. And you were like, a big freak. It's freaking awesome is what it is. Everyone, we all have a different need. So
sure.
I'm glad to see an electric bike that satisfies that. To power this thing on, you just press the little power button there. display comes on, see it's backlit, so you can see it at night. You've got speed up top, 5 ticks for a battery indicator, pedal assist, and you can go down to 0. Here, let's put it on the.
Sure.
So look at that. Even in 0, this is what I would consider throttle only mode. And it's powerful. You could hear that thing zipping along. But when you pedal, it's not like it's going to surprise you, because this is a cadence sensor. So I actually like throttle mode on bikes like this sometimes. But then you do have a bunch of levels of pedal assist all the way up to 5. And then down here we have a trip indicator. I think if you hold up on the plus button over here, that's going to activate the backlighting system. And if you hold down, I don't know if this one has
walk mode.
Walk mode. Yep, it does. So that's another nice feature, because when the bike is loaded up, or maybe you're in a crowded place, there's a lot of bike here. And so rather than have to worry about pushing it and everything, you can have the bike help itself.
Flat tire. That's when I use walk mode. Is if you're out mountain biking, you get a flat tire and you're trying to climb this really steep hill, it's nice having that walk mode. You can just push on, and the bike then turns into a burrow, and it'll pull you up the hill. And
potentially your gear. I was noticing that this has bosses for adding a rear rack. It has slots for maybe adding a fender. Note that front fork is steel, so it's raked out really far, which is going to create a feeling of stability. And I think part of the reason they raked it out is because if you look at this pedal, see how it gets a little bit close. If this wheel was way back here, they wouldn't have this nice relaxed geometry. So coming back to just how custom this thing is, there is a quick disconnect over here. Looks like there's another disconnect for. Oh, this isn't the disconnect. This is the shift sensor. So it actually has shift detection, which is great, because that motor, again, I keep saying this, but for people who don't have the perspective, that Bosch motor is measuring rear wheel speed, pedal cadence, pedal torque 1,000 times per second. This one's just measuring cadence, which means you don't have to work as much, but it's just not as fast, it's not as dynamic. And when you shift gears, if you're really powering it and you shift, all that power is going to go back here and potentially damage the chain over time, the sprocket, the derailleur. But that sensor eliminates that risk. It says anytime you're shifting, let's tell the motor to stop.
Shut down for a
Shut
moment.
down. Yeah.
So it's not under load while you're shifting.
It's
Correct.
very smart. They've done a good job with this. I mean, there are little areas where it's like, hydraulic discs would be nice, hydraulic disc brakes.
And you can upgrade to that if you want,
And
Most shops will do that for you. If you're, wanting that, just ask the store to do it.
Are there any other upgrades you can think of, Sam, or just?
Oh, there's tons of stuff you can do with this thing, man. Like you were saying, racks on the back. I love that they've got, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah,
so
bottle cage.
The battery is mounted to the water bottle cage down there, and then you've got another one up here. So it's dual.
And the removability of that battery pack. You don't have to leave that on the bike. You take it off to make it lighter, take it off to charge that maybe at work or in your house. Store the battery in a cool, dry location to maximize lifetime.
Absolutely. Or how about put a second battery right here?
Well, that would be interesting. Yeah, I mean, you could potentially do the one area that whether it's a bottle cage, a folding lock, or a battery or something, just be careful when you're stepping over the frame. It is a little bit vulnerable, and I might try to work with a rack or something in this case, especially, just depending on how stable you are. I was talking with this guy, Michael, the other day at your e-bike extravaganza, and yeah, he has MS.
Yep.
Oh boy. So you want to be careful with how you use the bike. And just a second ago, what happened is the bike's on, so anytime the bike is activated, that throttle is live.
And I bumped it with my thumb.
And he bumped it with his thumb, right? So, be careful. You saw it take off. We were in the highest level of assist there, but
that rear brake. This is a common thing that just happened yesterday in the parking lot. A customer got on the bike, the throttle was live, and if you're not holding that brake, you twist the throttle, you're not fully on it, it's going to take off without you.
It's a good point. And the fact that this does have motor inhibitors on both brake levers. So you see there's a lot of cables up here. They all have disconnects so they could be repaired easily. They're pulled together nicely, and most of them are routed down along the frame. Again, that's what I mean by it's a little more of a kit thing. They aren't internally routed.
Correct.
But there's really only one choice in this category, and I think they're doing a good job.
Look at all this room you have to mount lights or whatever you want to do there.
And you have the adjustable, this kind of swivels. So if you're dealing with some glare.
You can put it to one side or the other. In the middle, you got a lot of room here. A lot of people are looking for that handlebar space.
That's true. The big drink holders and stuff. Coming back to fluids. Yeah. I think that's great. Man, do you want to go? We could go out and take a little ride?
Test ride. Yeah.
That'd be fun.
We'll fire it up and give it a spin in the parking lot.
Sweet. Which one should I use? The Cyclone? Patriot?
I don't know. Do you want me to make this one so you fit on it better? Or do you want to show how small you are on it?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's just stick to that one.
We've been kind of talking about this one the whole time.
Okay, so he's wheeling it out. Fits through the door nicely. That kickstand, it's nice to have. It's rear mounted, so you can actually, you know, move those crank arms if it's deployed like this. You're not gonna have any problem with the crank arms colliding, but it kind of sucks in my opinion. Like, it's not really adjustable. There are better kickstands, and you could mount those to that plate right there. So, you know, at least it has a kickstand. So Sam's gonna get his helmet. I'm gonna take a little ride around the parking lot. I am in assist level 1, and my guy, I mean, I'm really spread out here. It's about as big as I could go. Here we go. There we go. Nice. And I'm really not even feeling assist very much, because level 1's nice and gentle. That backrest is interesting. You know, if you just kind of give yourself permission to relax, this is really nice. It's a very different experience riding this bike. I'm gonna hit the throttle. Wow, quieter than I was expecting. And going over that bump wasn't too bad. You know, there's no suspension on this bike, but I think being longer, having a longer wheelbase just helps, in the padding on that saddle. Now I'm gonna arrow up to level 3 assist and do some starts and stops. Nice and smooth. It's really easy. I think this one is branded Bafang, but most of the newer bikes from Day 6 use ERAD, which is one of my favorite. They use sort of a modified, improved version of the Bafang system. Bafang still manufactures it, but ERAD provides really good support, and they've sort of refined their system a little bit. See the cockpit. In this case, you know, there's a bit of a reach to get to that button pad. It could maybe be moved a little bit closer, but the throttle is very reachable. Brakes, shifters. I'm gonna shift this time while I'm pedaling and see how the shift detection works. I'll be right back, Sam. Sure. So I'm pedaling. Motor's helping me out here. And now I'm gonna shift. Yep, I felt it quit. It works great. It's like that's a physical shift sensor in there. Bosch is another company that's known for having shift detection on their motor, but it's more of a software-driven thing. I was trying to do no hands there a minute ago. This is pretty, you know, it feels stable, but the whole bike tips a little. It's a little more tippy because of how long it is. Nice and smooth. Getting those disc brakes. Working pretty well. Arrow up to level 5. Get a nice big turn. Whoa, yeah. Pretty awesome. Urge. Here's another look at that charger. About 1.5 pounds, 2 amps. You fill the battery in like 5.5 hours. It's not too bad. They have faster chargers these days. And for if you got especially the larger battery packs, it might take, you know, up to 10 hours depending on how full they are. And the wheel set here is using 36 holes, so that's more. It's 14 gauge spokes. Seem to work pretty well. It's kind of a standard, maybe even a little bit thicker than traditional bicycles. Some of them are 14 or 15. Here's an up close on the Tektro Novella brake calipers. The Fang motor. This is where it would say ERAD. It's very similar hardware, and in this case they do have the shift detection, but it's neat that they're working with another US based company on that, kind of optimizing. And I like how the battery is well protected down here. It's just mounted to 2 bolts, so again, it's sturdy enough, but it's not quite as fully integrated as some of the really super high-end bikes. So I do like that it's surrounded and protected. 1 1/8" on that head tube, so we've got Neko hardware all the way across. And then we've got a plastic chain guard here, so it's not a full chain cover. You could still get a little bit of grease, maybe some snags going on. This does look like an e-bike specific rust resistant chain, by the way. But that plastic guard's gonna help your pants slough over. There's no chain guide, so that's if it had a plate on the inside too to keep the chain from bouncing off. I haven't ridden this over super bumpy terrain, but it seems to be holding up just fine for what I'm doing. And then 170 millimeter crank arms. That's very standard, but given the positioning and these 26-inch wheels versus something like 27.5 or 28 700C, it's nice that the crank arms aren't super low because they could come in contact with the ground if you turn too hard, especially given the longer wheelbase on this frame here. Look at that, there's another, maybe like a gusset, giving you extra strength, extra support arm right here. Hey Sam, how's it going?
Good, good.
So I'm excited to get you on this, and maybe you can just throttle by and see what it looks like and do a brake test.
Sure.
Sweet.
Okay, so we jump on, don't forget the kickstand.
Yep.
And then I am gonna use the throttle to take off the line, and then I'll start pedaling.
Okay. Nice. Looking good. Whoa. Nice. And
Yeah.
no problem stopping there.
Yeah, a nice positive stop.
Sweet. Well, it was kind of neat that we actually both fit on that. I was all right. It was a bit of a stretch.
Well, yeah, but they have different sizes for different people too, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, find what fits you best, find a shop that's carrying it, and go in for a test ride.
I think that makes a lot of sense, man. I appreciate the extra little help and getting you, saddled up on this and, showing the bikes back to back. I feel like these guys are doing something really special.
It's a unique product, There's not a lot of bikes that are going to look like this in the marketplace.
That's true.
So this is something that some people don't even know exists, that it's out there. But once they find it, it's like, wow, that's the bike I've been looking for.
Yeah, when I was talking to Kelly about some of there's like the basketball player, the football player, the really big guys, but he also said, there's a lot of women who it's like they just can't ride a bike. They don't feel comfortable on traditional bikes anymore. Maybe they've gotten a little bit older, or maybe just the stability issue. And so the way that saddle, that seat is positioned with the pedals and everything is very custom. It's a special bike. For the full write-up on this, with all the measurements I talked about and just some more details, I'll see you guys back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Have a great time out there, ride safe, and yeah, if you can, check out a shop and try to actually give it a try. It's a pretty neat experience.